Hey everyone, this is Nate with Journey into Comics. Before today's episode starts, just wanted to say that if you like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Journey into Comics podcast, you will have a chance to win issue 129 of The Walking Dead, the San Diego Comic-Con variant edition. Also, follow us on Instagram at Journey into Comics. Thanks and enjoy today's show.
And here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Journey into Comics with your hosts, Nate Phillips and Brandon Stone.
I am a god, you dull creature.
I hear it's amazing when the famous purple stuffed worm in Flatjaw Space with the tuning fork does a raw blink on Harry Carey Rock. I need scissors. 61.
Oh, that was awesome. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Brandon, how goes it?
It goes good. Welcome to episode 10.
Holy shit, we are at episode 10. I didn't even... Yeah, episode 10. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 10 of Journey into Comics with the greeny, slimy goodness known as Brandon Stone and myself, Nate Phillips. We're here to talk about stuff and things, as we do. So, Brandon, how's it been? I haven't talked to you in a few days, man.
Oh, man, it's been busy. I've been working a lot.
Oh, yes, working a lot. I hear you. I ended up with a monstrous sunburn because of my day Friday.
Oh, man. Better make sure you take care of that.
I spent 10 hours straight in kind of deferred sunlight, which is allegedly the worst kind of sunlight.
Yeah, see, the best thing about working so much is more games for my collection.
Yeah, I mean, and that's how I feel about comics. The more, speaking of like jobs and money, dude, I got frauded.
What?
Yeah, some fucker stole my stuff.
Oh, that sucks, man.
Yeah, dude. I checked my bank account on Friday, and I think I'm supposed to have so much money in there before I get my paycheck because I've kind of like been really good with my budget. And I look, and I'm negative money, and my heart sunk, and I'm like, no, all the things I needed to pay, I already accounted for. Like, I should at least have a hundo in there. Like, what's going on? So I look, and I got a charge from this thing that said United DAI. So I call my bank. Bank's like, we'll do a little bit of research, and then we'll have you come in and sign a dispute form, and then we'll send that off. Your card will get shut off, so have some cash, draw some cash out of the bank before you have your card shut off so you aren't completely moneyless. And then we'll figure out what's going on. And when I got the email with the thing I needed to sign, I got charged $60 from the United Dairy Farmers. It's kind of funny, but I haven't drank milk in 2 years. Why the hell is anybody spending $60 on milk products?
The thing is, I mean, that's a hell of a source to get, it's a hell of a way to get frauded for, like some people want to like try and buy electronic goods like TVs or game systems or, whatever. Because my mom has actually been frauded at a Walmart before. And somewhere in Illinois, up north near more near to Chicago, she told me that she got it was like $800.
Holy hell!
$800 charge at a Walmart, and someone just frauded her card. And when she asked if there's anything that they could do about it, the bank's like, "No, we can give you your money, but there's no way that we can catch those people because Walmart doesn't ask for ID for the cards. So as far as they know, the card's legit. They don't give a crap." And so that person made off with whatever, a new TV, more than likely $800. That's kind of what I think they bought.
I would guess so.
But yeah, they made off with that, and they're nothing's ever gonna come to them. I guess karma, but
karma's a bitch that will slap you so hard in the face you will spin around twice and still not have any clue where you're at.
Yeah,
it is a legit fucking thing. Let me say.
Yeah, that is fucking crazy, though, that fucking dairy products. Come on now.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the shit, you can't even drink all that milk before it goes bad.
Yeah, I mean, let's see, $3 a gallon of milk, I think. I don't know. Like I said, I don't drink milk anymore. Like, we'll say roughly $3. Is that 20 gallons of milk? Who needs 20 gallons of milk?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it sucks. Um, a little bit of good news. I did get to see Motley Crue and Alice Cooper on Motley Crue's final tour.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Strangely enough, everyone that I talked to said, man, Motley Crue, they just turned Vince Neil's vocals down so low because he sucks at singing now. He was actually pretty good. I was like, okay, not as terrible as I was expecting. It was a lot of fun. Tommy Lee did a weird drum solo where instead of him just like soloing, he had this whole like dubstep thing planned out, and he drummed over the dubstep, but it was nothing too crazy. The craziest part was he was upside down over the crowd, which, yeah, they've done that before.
Right.
So.
I never got to see Crew. I think I could have seen them this past summer. I had other stuff going on and just kind of passed on it. I asked my buddy Rob, who you know.
I know Rob. Hi, Rob.
He also listens to the podcast, so what's up, Rob? Every year we've been going to a concert. Past couple of years, it's almost like we went and saw Iron Maiden, and then we went and saw Sabbath with Cooper. And wait, was that right? No, Cooper was with Iron Maiden. Yeah. Sabbath was alone. But anyway, we went, and then I asked him because he went and saw Crew a couple of years ago if that was something that he wanted to go see for their last tour, and he decided not to. And he's a big Crew fan, so we didn't go. But I did enjoy. I haven't seen Crew, but I did enjoy Cooper, and I kind of wished because he played an opening set for Maiden, so it was only about like 40 minutes. I assume is about the same for Motley Crue.
Yeah, no, he did like, his standards, Venomous Poison. He did Be My Frankenstein.
Yeah, he did his major, songs throughout his career. But I would have, he has such a good stage show that I kind of wish I could have seen like a full-on performance and a full set. That would have been neat.
Absolutely neat. So this past week was Gamescom, and I don't really know what that is, but I hear a lot about it. And Brando, you're big into games, so I'm gonna hope you can fill me in. Do you have anything that happened?
Well, okay, Gamescom is basically Europe's big gaming convention, and at least I want to hope that is what it is, and hopefully that I'm not completely wrong.
Fair enough.
I never actually looked it up, but from what I can gather, it is in Europe, and pretty much it is sort of the same as what they do over here. They do bring kind of like their big stuff and announcements, and so one of the big announcements this year was that Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, the sequel to the reboot of Tomb Raider from a couple years ago, is officially going to be an exclusive for the Xbox One.
Whoa. That's wild. Why? Just my own personal opinion. If you're going to give one of the two companies at this current juncture an exclusive, why are you not giving it to PS4?
We'll see. Okay. Now, this sort of kind of raised havoc on the internet after it was announced. Don't get me wrong, okay? I'm sort of with you. I do believe that the PS4 is the way to go in this generation. But I don't hate consoles. I want to make that sure. I don't want to see anybody fail. And I will want to add that I am really enjoying seeing what Phil Spencer is doing, trying to recreate and rebrand the Xbox brand as being a good system. And whereas maybe the specs aren't going to be there, if what he needs to do is start getting games on that console that people want to play, whether they are games that they have made or games that they get to come over to their side on that console. So business-wise, it's a good move, or at least it appeared to be a good move. Because then it was later revealed that it's actually just a time duration exclusive. It's a timed exclusive. So it's still going to be coming out more than likely for the PC and PS4. But for the release, for the holiday 2015 release, it will be exclusive to the Xbox brand.
Wow. Good things come to those who wait. PS4 people are going to be patient about it. It's not like they don't have a ton of awesome stuff to play right now anyways. PS4 is definitely the superior of the two, as we've talked about.
Definitely. If you've never played The Last of Us, get that on the PS4. I had it on PS3, played it, beat it, loved it. I have it on PS4. I'm replaying it. If you've never played it, that's the way to play it. It looks jaw-dropping. And I And as you said, there's not a whole lot to do. So I would get it. It's $50, and it is probably the best game out there right now for any system.
Well said. Yeah.
But I want to add in, Gamescom is in Europe. I was right. Thank you, Brandon, for not being a complete total spaz and thinking that was somewhere else. So, moving on. Speaking of PS4, they released their newest number of sales. They've released the number at 10 million since last November.
In dollars or in systems sold?
Systems.
Holy shit.
Yes, it is. I mean, to me, that's kind of impressive. And I do remember, because I have this crazy weird memory, and I remember nothing of actual substance that means anything. I remember stupid shit like this. I remember back in the day when, the 360 was hopping, and they were kind of like the system to have in that last generation, before the PS3 started like kind of making their comeback in like 2009, 2010, that Microsoft said the first system to sell 10 million would win the console war. That's back then. And I'm sure they wouldn't agree with that sentiment now.
Well, no. They would say something completely different now.
Yeah. To me, it's humbling, though, to them. It has to be. Because every third system in a console maker's span, with the exception of maybe one or two, like Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, Sega, every single third system they made they've completely botched it in one way or another.
Yeah.
And I could go more into that, but I really don't want to spend a lot of time talking about that. I'm sure if you think about it, and if you stop to think about each of their third systems, how it sort of messed them up, how they messed up the launch, all that stuff, you could figure that out. But for PlayStation, this is a huge advantage, because you're going to have a large install base. That means for the console, the developers are going to be more lenient and want to come to you and give you things, give you exclusive content, and because they know the install base is going to be there, and that means that they're going to make money. As far as you said about like, why would a company, why would they put their game like on the Xbox One, which has sold less? They haven't revealed their sales numbers, but I kind of think they're not revealing their numbers because Sony's selling so well. And why would they want to come out and says, yeah, we've sold 7 million or 5 million, why would they want to do that and appear obvious second place when they could sort of play it off, and not really mention it? The reason why a company like Crystal Dynamics, they make Tomb Raider, or actually Square Enix owns it. The reason why they would do that is because Microsoft paid them a buttload of money to cover the cost.
Oh,
so
well.
I mean, because, okay, if you're a third-party developer and you're releasing games across all platforms, your goal is to sell as many copies as that game, doesn't matter what console it's on. You don't care if it sells more on Xbox One or a PS4, just as long as it sells copies. But if you're limiting yourself to that one console, like what they did with Dead Rising 3 or Rise, Son of Rome, you've got to be compensated enough for your time and for your game on that console to where you're making enough money back from your original investment.
Yeah.
But as with Dead Rising and Rise, those games also went to PC. So they're not entirely exclusive, which is one thing I will say. The Xbox One does need exclusive titles. It does need, when I mean exclusive, I mean exclusive, no PC. And I know there's a lot of PC gamers out there, but in my opinion, I have a PC. If I can get the game on the PC and just upgrade it a little bit, other than buying a $400 or $300 console, I might do that instead.
I mean, it's the smarter choice. I'm not going to go, if right now my computer can play a game that's out for the 360 or the PS4 or Xbox One, if my computer can play something that those systems have just as well as they have, why am I going out and buying any console?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is where the console wars are starting to really get interesting, because they are at a point now where everything that's going on is just almost self-sabotage. Microsoft feeds Windows games.
Mm-hmm.
and they're self-sabotaging.
Right.
Now PlayStation doesn't necessarily self-sabotage like that, but then you've got things like Steam, where wait 6 months, you can get a game for $4.99.
Oh yeah. I mean, Steam sales are awesome. I did avoid it this year, but last year I kind of went nuts and I got a few games for really cheap. The thing is that the thing that I mentioned with Microsoft and letting their games onto PC or other platforms, you don't see Mario on any other platform other than Nintendo.
Fact.
You don't, or Zelda, or Metroid. And for Sony, you don't see Uncharted on PC. You don't see God of War on PC. You don't see The Last of Us on PC. You can only get those experience on a PlayStation console. Whether you love the PS3 or not, I feel like those games, the Uncharted games, God of War, and The Last of Us, were whatever other exclusive games they came out with, that defined what the PS3 was able to do, and it increased their audience, and it made third-party developers try harder to get more out of the PS3 in the later years and caused that system to catch up to the sales of the Xbox 360. And sort of, I mean, because the Wii won that generation with consoles sold, no doubt.
Well, easily. It was the cheapest price point, and I mean, I worked at GameStop when all that went down, and it was insane. People were freaking out every day. Do you got the Wii? Or if you were a fucking idiot, do you have the WII or the W2? People did not know what it was called, but they wanted it.
Yeah.
They didn't have the intelligence to understand how to pronounce it, but they wanted it.
Yeah.
And it was my job to sell them on the novelty of the Wii.
Right. Well, as I said, it's obvious that console won because of consoles sold. But when you look at a diehard gamer's perspective, the Wii's sort of appeal for the casual gamer, it sort of wore off after a couple years. It was sort of like a fad that went away. And as a gaming device, it has great games, but appealing to the hardcore gamer, it definitely went to the other systems. And in my opinion, when you look at the PS3 and 360, the 360 had a strong start for a couple years, and then it almost kind of seemed like they flip-flopped because the PS3 had a bad couple of years. And I'm not saying that the 360 ever was ever really bad, but they really gave up their focus on trying to be that game console that you want in your living room, because the PlayStation was trying to be the all-in-one media device in your living room. And then they went, well, we need to be a game device because this isn't working for us. So they started making more exclusive games. Meanwhile, you had exclusive games on the 360, you had a large install base, and then eventually Don Matrick came in and said the Xbox 360 is going to be your ultimate media device in your living room. And I'm like, was he sent to sabotage it? Because if they would have kept on keeping on with what they were doing, it would have been a tougher race for PlayStation to catch up. But they were able to catch up and get some of those gamers over to their platform. On this generation that we've talked about, it really does seem like Microsoft is not really caring about their console exclusives. They need to, because getting Rise of the Tomb Raider exclusive on your console, nowhere else ever. I mean, it kind of sucks because it makes people go out and buy the system for their, it sucks for their wallet, but that would be a reason for me to want to go buy one. Now, granted, that's one game, but it's a game I really want to play.
But if it came down to it, though, let's say Destiny is a Xbox One exclusive, does that game push you to buy one?
Me? See, and that's it. I'm actually more tempted to try it out because it's available on a system I already own.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But more fans of that genre, because I'm not a huge first-person shooter fan, more fans of that genre might go out and buy one. The people who like Call of Duty, who like the Halos, who like Borderlands, because that's what that game sort of feels like, is sort of a mix mash of all those different titles for that genre. The people who enjoy that might go out and buy that for that.
Agreed. Did you have any? I feel like you said when we were off air that you had 3 things from Gamescom, and I feel like, is there a third still?
There is a third.
All right,
moving
let's
on.
hear it.
There was there were a lot of game reveals. There was stuff from the Kojima camp from Metal Gear Solid 5, and their big reveal was about the new mechanics for the cardboard box. and you're going to be able to use your cardboard box, and you can hop out of your box, stand up, and shoot, and then get back in the box. And it's all about, and you never actually unequip the box.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then as you're walking along the box, he can dive out the front of the box, and the box will stay behind him, and it'll act as a distraction.
Huh. That's totally cool.
And then he can stand up with the box, and the part of the box in the front folds down, and it looks like an enemy soldier saluting. So the enemies walk on by. And then there's another one with like a sexy lady. So they come over to like goggle, at the sexy lady. And, well, you can then take them out. And you can even lay the box down and have the sexy lady come out. And then he can like jump out of the box. And then it'll also act as a distraction as well. But so that was the first part of my Kojima thing. But there was a brand new game announced in partnership with Kojima and a director whose name I can never pronounce.
I know who you're talking about.
I'm pretty sure that you do.
His last name is Del Toro.
Mr. Del Toro, with the first name that I will just completely slaughter if I try to pronounce
Guillermo, maybe? I don't know.
Guillermo, Del Toro, whatever. But they announced PT, which is called the playable teaser, which you can download on your PS4. But it's hidden. You have to type in search and type in PT, and it comes up as PT the game. So go and download it, and it's only like a gig or so. And I played it, and it has atmosphere, and it did scare me once or twice. Pretty much, I'm not really going to go into big detail about it and spoil anything. This is the new Silent Hill game. And it stars Norman Reedus from Walking Dead. And it looks fantastic. The graphics were good. It had some anti-aliasing problems. It had some jaggies. But again, this was a teaser. I mean, it was just so cool because this is a first time that I've ever seen anything like this. They announced a game and said, you can go try it out right now. Or you can go, our trailer is playable and you can play it.
It's the way of the future, man.
Idea. That is neat. And granted, it was very kind of repetitive. You couldn't do much, but it was all about, Silent Hill's always been about the atmosphere anyway. It's always been about putting you in that world. There's very little to no combat. And you are just, you're supposed to be scared and completely frightened. Frightened. I cannot speak in this early morning of me being awake.
Yeah, it happens. For those of you who don't know, Brando works the grave shift, and it so happened that we couldn't record our late night last night, so we're doing it early Saturday, I don't know what day it is. Early Sunday morning, we're recording right now.
Well, it's actually 2:00 in the afternoon, but it's morning for me. But anyway, yeah, you're supposed to be frightened when you're playing the game. And there was a few spots, and it sort of takes some hints for some other games that have been released, like, I'm trying to remember the name of it now. Outlast, I think it was called. But the playable teaser is played in first person. I don't know if that's how the final game is going to be, because the other games in this series have never been that way. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. I want to see more of it. Anything, I really like all the projects that Kojima has done. I love Metal Gear, Zone of Enders, Police Knots, which I never played that one, but I did play Snatcher. Unfortunately, I only played it on ROM because I cannot afford it. The actual release copy of the game on Sega CD. I've actually heard a quick thing. One of a YouTuber that I watch, and his name is Gamester81. He works for a independent gaming company called Collector Vision, and they make homebrew games for like the Atari and Nintendo games for those systems.
Oh, timeout. You just cut off really, really something fierce, brother.
I did?
Yeah, so we'll try again.
Was that just like the Skype connection call or what?
I don't know if it was Skype or you just got really chippity-choppity. You said homebrew, I think you said Atari and Super something, and then you just went all digitally. Okay.
Yeah, that happened to you earlier, but I can still make out what you were saying. And it doesn't affect your sound quality on the podcast. So.
Well, that's good. Unfortunately, it does affect yours, but we're
Yeah.
getting through it, folks. So while Brandon's working on whatever's going on with him, I'm going to push this button. I got this nice new button machine that has all these cool buttons, and this is one of my favorites.
Surprise, motherfucker.
I love it. It's like the best. So right now what we'll do is we're going to take a quick break. We're going to check over our audio stuff, and we will be back.
Morphin' time! Mastodon!
Pterodactyl. No, wait. I don't want to be pterodactyl.
Quick,
shit.
find one.
Dragon Sword!
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, I had to.
Anyway, before we were so rudely interrupted by Skype interference, I was saying that there was a company out there called Collector Vision, and they make homebrew games for the Atari 2600, ColecoVision, Super Nintendo, all that stuff. And they've mentioned that they're working on getting the rights to be able to update and re-release Snatcher onto the Sega Dreamcast. And I'm waiting for news for that. I haven't heard anything since the guy first mentioned it. I am like chomping at the bit because I want to be able to play Snatcher, but I don't want to pay really high prices for it.
No, yeah, and that's part of both you and I's collecting. The major part of it is finding the right deal. We've mentioned it several times before, and sometimes there are things that are just like right now I can't pay $2,500 to $2,000, $2,700 for the first appearance of Spidey or Amazing Spider-Man #1. I sure as hell can't afford $4,000 for the first Fantastic Four.
Right.
And I'm talking not even in good condition. If I'm going for one of the first issues of those, I'm saving up and getting a high quality one. I don't want a shitty first copy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, right. I am a cheap ass collector, and I'm not about to be ashamed to admit that. My whole goal in collecting is to spend as less as possible, and I think it should, probably should be for everyone. But and there's gonna be some things where that's not too possible for the Nintendo stuff, the Super Nintendo stuff is starting to get expensive. So I know those are going to be some big grabs. But you know what? The PS1, PS2, Xbox, that stuff is almost dirt cheap if you can find the right spot. And I've been getting those, just kind of like, I don't know, buffing up the collection with some of the games from those systems. But it's time, and it's time to start focusing on some of those more expensive titles.
Yeah, it's never fun when you start going after the more expensive ones, but sometimes you just luck into really good deals. So I mean, and you'll find what you're looking for at some point. So this week we had a new Walking Dead, Brando.
Oh yes.
Very strange Walking Dead. Where we left off on 129, Negan is screaming for help and asking the new people of the group to free him. And I thought, oh, fuck, here we go.
Yeah, right.
He's going to get out. And then when we came back to issue 130, they don't trust him. They saw right through his bullshit.
I was kind of surprised by that because it seemed like the predictable route to go would be for them to, spring him out, and that would be his road to, like, vengeance or whatever. But I was glad to see that because it didn't just happen. It's going to happen some different way that now it's hard. I can't predict how it's going to happen now.
Carl.
Yeah.
Maybe Carl.
Maybe.
Carl got the shaft in this episode or in this issue. Man,
yes, he did.
He finally talks to his dad, gets the nerves to tell his dad what he really, really wants out of life in this zombie apocalypse. Rick finally agrees, okay, I'll leave you at the fucking hilltop. It's all going to work out nicely. And then the dude that was supposed to be giving him the apprenticeship already found someone else.
Yep.
What a dick.
Well, you know what? He didn't know. I mean, the fact is that it's obvious that him and Carl have a relationship of some sorts. They kind of had that little conversation about the carving of the boar or whatever, and I think it's just he couldn't wait around forever, and they finally got somebody who could apprentice under him, so he just went ahead with it. I think Carl's being kind of like the typical teenager of, well, since since he's already there, that means I'm shut out, and you're not talking about it, and not saying, well, I wanted to be your apprentice. My dad finally gave him the okay. If you would have just said that, maybe he would have been like, well, okay, I can have 2 apprentices. You guys can work together. You can be over there in Alexandria. We can be here at the Hilltop. We always need more blacksmiths.
Yeah.
But you know how how stuff goes sometimes. But the part that got me, there were 2 parts. I really liked Rick's humbleness when people at the Hilltop were coming up to him like he's like this famous celebrity, and he doesn't like it.
No, he doesn't like the attention. I think he was doing what he had to survive, and to make things better, and people are giving him, I think you said, godlike attention, celebrity status. He's just a dude. He's not Spider-Man. He doesn't shoot webs out of his ass. No.
Well, see, the thing is that he also mentions that that's why he changed his appearance, shaved his head, grew the beard, because he wanted to get away from that. And he said it's starting to get bad in Alexandria as well. And I really, I like that little tidbit of that segment. And also, Maggie's baby, she named him Herschel.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Well, I mean, he is her daddy, so I would imagine.
Know.
Although the baby did look an awful lot like Glenn too.
Yeah, what wouldn't you name? I mean, I know it's a zombie apocalypse, and the idea that people are still being born it's kind of unsettling to me. But at the same time, if you watch your husband tragically die like that, and you don't name y'all's kid after him, but after your dad, like I was a little bit torn. I felt like, is his name Herschel Glenn Green? Like, what the fuck, man? Give this kid some recognition of who his dad is,
Right.
Glenn was such a legendary character in this series. I mean, he's continued to grow in the show, but I mean, as far as the comic, if it wasn't for Glenn, we wouldn't have Rick.
Oh, yeah.
Because Glenn saves Rick.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know. It's to me, I was torn on how they gave the baby the Herschel name, but whatever, man. The last piece of this issue that was really a little bit shocking, and I don't even think this would be considered spoilerific because, we don't know where it's going to go. But what are your thoughts on the idea that the walkers are starting to talk?
See, and that's kind of funny because I actually didn't catch that until the very end. I thought on this to kind of paint the picture here, these 2 fellows are trying to escape these walkers, and they end up hiding like in a ditch, and it's raining, and these walkers are passing by, and these speech bubbles come up. I didn't realize that was the walkers at first. I thought those guys were whispering to each other, and that was meant to signify how quiet they were being, that they weren't moving their lips or anything. Because I kind of thought maybe they were waiting there long enough for the walkers to pass by. And then once I hit that last panel for the book and it says they can talk, I'm like, oh, that's what that was. And I scrolled all the way back there and I went, yep, okay, yeah, I'm dumb. I totally missed it. I was reading by it so fast, I interpreted the information wrong. But that, to me, that's interesting because it means that they're regaining some semblance of intelligence.
Well, and like we were talking about, the possibility that they're regaining some intelligence, or that homeboy who said that he was hearing them speak is a little delusional. And I think maybe that's what the group is going to start with is, dude, you're crazy. They're not talking. There's no way. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, 131 is several weeks away still, so I guess we're just going to have to hold our breath and wait.
Yeah.
But, man, it's just The Walking Dead keeps throwing all these interesting curveballs at you, and Kirkman knows what he's doing. He really does.
Oh, yeah. I definitely have complete faith in his vision and what he wants to do. I've enjoyed the ride so far, so.
Well, that's good. Let's see. What else do we have? We have a lot to talk about today, folks. We're just kind of playing this one a little bit by ear. Today is our 10th episode, so me and Brando thought we'd do something a little bit interesting. We have a couple top 10s. So with that being said, I am going to go ahead and, just for fun, I will push this button.
Let's get ready to rumble!
All right, so my top 10 is going to be top 10 first appearances in The Amazing Spider-Man. Now, I left Spidey himself out because he did not appear first in Amazing Spider-Man. However, he did appear in Amazing Fantasy number 15. So I'm going to move down this list kind of quickly. No real rhyme or reason to why I put these people where I put them. They all have different significances as far as their importance in the Spideyverse. So here we go. My number 10 is actually probably needs to be further down the list because it's a fan favorite, but I just stuck him there because, I don't give a care. So number 10 is Carnage, who first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man 361. Carnage is kind of legendary. He, I think, gained a lot of popularity because of the television show. I mean, his first appearance, I read it. It wasn't like the most over-the-top thing. It was a announced three-parter. You knew he was coming. There was no real big surprise, A lot of the, look at Michonne, for example, in The Walking Dead. There was no announcement that this lady Michonne's going to show up. She just showed up. She was really kick-ass, and boom, here we are, Number 9 was the second love interest to Mr. Parker, Mary Jane, who first appears in Amazing Spider-Man number 25, which also had the first appearance of J. Jonah Jameson. Yeah, there's that. J. Jonah Jameson, what a douche. But Mary Jane, super cool, redheaded. They were supposed to have her in the second Amazing Spider-Man movie, and she never showed up, which saddened me. Speaking of the second Amazing Spider-Man movie, played by Harry Osborn in the movie. However, in the comics, it was Norman Osborn. Number 8, the Green Goblin. Dude, first appearance is Amazing Spider-Man 14. Still to this day, one of the hardest books to come by. Really cool thing, a little bit piece of information. The Green Goblin character is actually responsible for ending the relationship between Steve Ditko and Stan Lee. Because Ditko wanted Green Goblin to be a new character, not someone that Peter Parker knew. However, Stan Lee was like, no, it's more interesting if it's someone who already knows Pete. Because then it's like, oh my gosh, you betrayed Parker, blah, 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 blah. They disagreed about this, and in issues, I do believe it's 39 and 40 of Amazing Spider-Man. 39 was the last issue that Steve Ditko drew for, and then 40 was the first issue that John Romita drew for, where they revealed that it was, in fact, Norman Osborn who already knew Parker. So that's a cool little underground piece of information.
By the way, I agree with Stan Lee on that.
Yeah, I think it just played out better overall. Creating a new guy who would have been like, it just, I don't know. Spider-Man's biggest thing is he's a huge deal because people that know him and figure out his secret go after him most times. Speaking,
Well, I mean, it's part of his sort of lore that his superhero problems meld into his real life, so that just adds another dimension to it.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of other Spider-Men, Miles Morales, who is now the Ultimate Spider-Man Miles Morales, in issue 4 of the new series, just told his girlfriend that he is Spider-Man, to which she freaked out over. And he only did it because he felt like if he wasn't honest with her, like Parker was with MJ or Gwen, that he wasn't going to be a good person. So he was trying to do right by the legacy of Spider-Man by telling them exactly how things were happening. And to speak on others, another first appearance, my number 7 in my top 10, Ben Reilly, who is the Scarlet Spider, the perfect clone of Parker. First appearance in 149, created by the Jackal. Just a really cool character. I love the Scarlet Spider-Man outfit. It's rugged, it's rough, it's not perfect. Yeah, Ben Reilly, pretty cool. Moving on to number 6, because I don't know how to do these top 10 things. I don't really plan for stuff, whatever. Mysterio, who most of you know is my all-time favorite Spider-Man villain. First appearance in issue 13. You can see that on my Instagram. I think I put it up there several months and or a year or two ago. But I'll probably end up reposting that over on the Journey into Comics Instagram as well. Number 5, and I put her at number 5 in her importance. Gwen Stacy in issue 31 was her first appearance, and her importance and why I put her so high on the list is because not of her beginnings, but her endings. She had such an epic ending and put such a stamp on the entire Spider-Man universe that I felt like she had to be in the top 5 of my list. Moving on down the line, this is going to be a kind of a weird one because this actually, this character, it's not his first appearance. However, it is the first appearance in the comic of something different. But Black Suit Spider-Man first appearing in Amazing Spider-Man 252. He also first appeared in Secret Wars number 8. That's actually a legitimate first appearance of him, but the first time he was in the Amazing Spider-Man series with the black suit was 252, which carried from 252 all the way to 300, is how long they had that storyline go on. So that's, 50 issues. I mean, that's a couple years they ran with the black suit Spider-Man story, which Black Suit Spidey was in the third Spider-Man movie. Not very good, but whatever. Moving on. Number 3, and I just realized I did this. I did not mean to do this. Number 3, first appearing in the third Amazing Spider-Man, Doc Ock, who is a very poignant character, one of the best villains in the Spider-Verse. It eventually outsmarts Parker and takes over Parker's body, which ended up being a part of the Superior Spider-Man story. If you haven't read Superior Spider-Man, here's what I suggest, and I've talked about this to some people, so I kind of have a good idea of how to explain it. Usually I'm really bad at explaining things. You're going to want to go ahead and read Amazing Spider-Man issue 600 through to 700. I know that's 100 issues. It's kind of a big task, but you're going to want to read from the start of the Spider Island storyline, which starts in 600, all the way to the end of Amazing Spider-Man. Then when you're done with that, you're going to pick up Superior Spider-Man number 1, read that to the end, and then you can start the new series of Amazing Spider-Man, which started at issue 1. It's on its way to issue 5. Issue 4 came out last week or 2 weeks ago. Great reads. I mean, things they're doing with Spider-Man, I would love to eventually someday see on the big screen. Will we? Doubt it. Someone who we have seen on the big screen, but I thought they did a horrible job in interpreting this character, my number 2 pick, who has a varied first appearances depending on how you look at things, is Venom. Now, Venom first appears in issue 298. He is a silhouette, and you're not really sure what he looks like. And then his first full appearance was Amazing Spider-Man 300, where he terrorizes Parker, and the suit change and all that stuff happens. Very, very classic issue. My number 1, Brando, do you have any guesses who you think my number 1 is?
I don't know. I mean, you've listed quite a few.
Yeah, no, I listed quite a few, but there's one that just he has to be number 1. And it's his first appearance was Amazing Spider-Man 129, if that helps anybody out. It is the Punisher.
I almost guessed the Punisher, but I'm like, it's probably going to be more of a staple character.
No, my thing is that the first appearance of Punisher in Spider-Man was brilliant. It launched a character that did not have the confines of the happy-go-lucky stories that Parker put on. He's a very dark character. I mean, we've talked about it before. So I thought Punisher was a great number 1 because he branched out and had the ability to do his own thing. On all the characters I named, Venom has his own comic book series. However, it's not the Venom that was originally created for Spider-Man. They have Agent Venom now, who's a good guy and not a bad guy. Carnage has had some of his own miniseries, but they don't seem to last very long. Carnage versus Deadpool, Minimal Carnage, or Maximum Carnage. So, I think Punisher he was a different character, and I liked it a lot. So, yeah, that was my list. We go with Carnage at 10. Number 9 was Mary Jane. Number 8 was the Green Goblin. Number 7 was Ben Reilly. Number 6 is Mysterio. 5 is Gwen Stacy. 4 is Spider-Man in the black suit. 3 is Dr. Octopus. Number 2 is Venom. And number 1, as I said, is the Punisher. Now we can move on to other fun things. Brando had some pretty big DC news, right?
Oh yeah. The thing that caught my eye. See, the thing is, we record bi-weekly, so a lot of news breaks in between podcasts, and I definitely felt like this was notable. Something that we've been discussing quite a bit here, because it's something that both me and Nate are watching closely, is the Batman versus Superman, and the date moved. It's no longer going to be going head-to-head with Captain America.
Yeah, they moved it to March 25th, which is really ballsy to put a movie that has such a high chance to be a blockbuster in March. Not a lot of huge movies have ever launched in March. Most of them wait till the May season to really kick it into high gear. It's just a landmine down there as far as what's going to happen in 2016. There are so many movies cramming in. I do believe they just announced Godzilla 2 is going to be in 2016.
Really?
Or 2017. My brain doesn't allow me to 100% remember. I'll have to look that up. And then, of course, now with Batman vs. Superman, they also announced Jason Momoa, as we said here months ago, officially 100% without question is going to be in the movie as Aquaman. Jason Momoa is Aquaman, and I just found out, and this is going to shock some people in my area of the world, but Jason Momoa will actually be at the Northwest Indiana Comic-Con this year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, pretty freaking cool. That's what I said. They also announced there are 2 different scripts for Momoa to play in his own Aquaman feature, which would be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I do know that they're going to have like a certain stigma about Aquaman. Like a lot of people that I know, like that are into the movies. It's definitely going to be interesting to hear. And also, I can hear like a feedback in my headphones of my own voice.
Uh-oh.
So it's almost kind of like when you did that voice jammer thing.
Oh, no. Let me see if I get rid of something real quick here, folks. We're going to take a journey over here, not into comics because we're already there. Okay, so Brando, how do you sound now?
Good. I don't hear myself. I'm not sounding like I'm speaking with Christopher Walken pauses or anything. But...
So Brandon's not going to be able to hear this, everybody, but we're going to push this button. And this button. Oh, that button actually didn't push. Oh, well. Anyways. Oh, yeah.
You get nothing.
And of
you
course,
lose.
I don't even remember what I was doing. Oh,
Day,
Aquaman.
sir.
Yeah, they're I have coworkers. They're into this, comic movies and everything like that. And every single one of them says Aquaman sucks, and the movie would suck. And I'm just thinking, you know what? They could do it good. They could redefine the character, and none of them believe me.
Well, did you see Zack Snyder's defense of the character like 3 days before he decided to announce that Jason Momoa was playing Aquaman in the movie?
No, I didn't see that.
He's like, people are so dumb, they're talking all this negativity. Actually, I'm probably going to pull it up on my phone to get the exact quote. But to paraphrase while I'm looking for this, he was essentially saying something to the effect of, people don't realize that Aquaman has the ability to take all the deep underwater pressure to his body. It doesn't affect him. And things underwater that are heavy that he would lift are going to be lighter on air, which I don't think made sense. But I'm going to find it and I'll read exactly what he says. My phone is just, I don't have a laptop in front of me, so I can't just like bleak, bleak, bleak. I got to crap. By the way, guys, I didn't go see the new Turtles movie. I know I said I would, but the reviews are so awful, I can't give them my money. Oh, okay, Godzilla 2 is June 8th of 2018, so a couple years off. For those of you who don't know, the best place to get your comic book news is where I go most of the time, is Superhero Hype. It's a great site, and I find a lot of good information there. Where the heck is this defense of right here. Batman vs. Superman director Zack Snyder leaps to Aquaman's defense. He says you guys were disparaging a little bit Aquaman. I don't want to give anything away about the movie or anything like that, but Aquaman has some cool abilities. People are like, "Oh, what? Does he talk to animals?" Because that seems like that's what he does, or fish. The cool thing with Aquaman is he has his trident. You have to realize that could cut the flesh of Superman if they came into contact. That's a thing that's in the canon. He's super strong because, of course, he can exist at these super deep depths. So when he comes up here, he's crazy strong. Anyways, not to say he's in my movie or anything like that, but he has the potential to be a badass. That's all I'm saying. So that's a quote from the man Zack Snyder himself, and then, like I said, 3 days later, he announces that he is definitely in the movie.
I like how he was playing coy. I'm not saying he's in my movie, but he is.
Yeah, pretty much is exactly what he did. Like, he might not be in my movie, but he is totally in my movie. So, yeah, that's Zack Snyder for you. No big surprises there. So yeah, there's a lot of cool news. We've really been covering the Batman versus Superman stuff closely. I don't know if you saw, but they did have some video now of what Batfleck looks like as Bruce Wayne. Mm-hmm. Which I didn't actually watch the footage. I try not to spoil myself on set footage because then I start to make up things that'll probably never be in the movie that I wish were in the movie. So I just leave it alone. Hey, do you know what tonight is?
Tonight is the biggest event of the summer, pal.
Yeah, it's SummerSlam.
Oh, yeah.
I'm leaving from the podcast. Going to get the podcast uploaded, hang out with Pops for a little bit, and then we're driving back so we can watch SummerSlam. Who do you think, maybe we'll battle about this a little bit, but first of all, I've got to bring up the match that I'm most excited for. Roman Reigns, Randy Orton. What are your thoughts? How do they do this?
My thoughts are Reigns goes over. That's the only way that I can see it. I mean, he is so over right now with the crowd. Number one. Number two, they want him to be the next big star. They want to make him into the next big star. He has the look. He needs to work on his mic work, and he's decent in the ring. He has a great presence, and so a win. He hasn't won the past couple events that he's been at, the big events, pay-per-views. So yeah, I think he needs to get a win here over Orton and really start moving forward, because it's no doubt they want him to main event WrestleMania 31.
Yeah, and okay, now the question I have, I agree with you, and I want Reigns to be over on this night. I think he needs the win. I think it's maybe, I know Orton is still in his prime, but maybe this is the start of Orton passing his torch. Not imminently, but, slowing down. He doesn't have to do every date out of the year that WWE wrestles. He can take a little bit of a step back to let these new stars come forward. My question is, do they start to build Roman Reigns like they did Daniel Bryan? Have him lose and continuously get screwed over by the Authority, keeping this epic Authority storyline going to some point. Speaking of Daniel Bryan, what are your thoughts? You think he's going to be a surprise entrant in the Rumble?
I could see so. There's some rumblings going around.
That was good.
Intended.
We didn't even mean to.
Yeah, no pun intended there. But yeah, there's been some rumors that he'll be back by the Rumble. Now, see, my whole fantasy booking thing takes it to a little bit of a different level, and he could be in the Rumble, but that's not where I would put him. And that all goes to where it all depends on what happens tonight and how that gets steamrolled, because the main event tonight is what would drive that, and I'm gonna put Lesnar over Cena tonight.
See, I want to say that Lesnar's going to go over Cena, but part of me thinks the way Lesnar has his schedule booked, the way he is only doing limited dates, to put the belt on him and then to essentially have him not be the guy that shows up to the house shows and not be the guy that carries the weight of the company, essentially saying, hey, Lesnar, you're quote-unquote the face of. There are so many different... I mean, look at the way they did with Rock Cena, too. They didn't give Rock the strap early at all. It wasn't until Rumble, which is what, one pay-per-view before Mania, and that was a quote-unquote large build.
Okay, well, just kind of stay with me here because I'm gonna come into like the defense of putting the strap on Lesnar and having him hold it until WrestleMania.
Okay, I want to hear this.
Because see, back in the day, and this is harkening back to like the NWA and even into the WWF, pretty much until like the late '90s, the champion wasn't always on the show for Raw or anything like that. Now, granted, whereas the whole house show thing comes into perspective, I sort of agree with you to an extent. The champion does need to be there, but when you have two mid-card titles that mean nothing right now, without the WWE World Heavyweight Champion there to carry the card, that means the Intercontinental Champion is going to mean more. The U.S. Champion is going to mean more, and hopefully during this absence, you make the WWE World Heavyweight Championship mean more because when Lesnar shows up, shit's about to go down. And then when he's not there, the other two champions are important to the show because then those two titles kind of lift up to take that spot of the main event. And what I said about Daniel Bryan earlier, and I'm going to elaborate on it, I want to put Lesnar over tonight and see the way that they're doing the whole network thing is that the subscriber renew happens for Night of Champions. So Night of Champions, the next pay-per-view in September, has to be a big build as well. So I'm thinking what I would do. Now, this is not what I think is going to happen because they don't always do either what's right or what's wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would put Lesnar over tonight and have a big rematch with Cena and Lesnar on the next pay-per-view. Now, they need Cena there because they don't have that many faces on the show, and without him, there would be a void. But I would most likely, how I would want to do it would be give Cena a couple weeks off and have Lesnar beat him so bad that he can't come back right away, and that twice Cena failed. And then going forward, try to get a deal out of Lesnar where he shows up a couple times in between the pay-per-views, but shows up at the pay-per-views to beat the next guy, to beat maybe a Jericho, to beat a Randy Orton, a Sheamus. And they build these guys up to being former champions. They're going to take on, Brock Lesnar and take down the Authority, but they can't. And then, like, for example, Rey Mysterio has been rumored to be leaving soon. He's going to be leaving. So what I would do, maybe for one of the fall pay-per-views, maybe not Survivor Series, but maybe the other one, have him come back. And he's a former WWE and World Heavyweight Champion. He's going to beat Lesnar. Well, Lesnar ends his career. Like, he's done. He beats him so bad that he can't compete anymore.
I like that.
And then moving forward into Royal Rumble, who can beat Lesnar? He's beating everybody. Cena couldn't do it. Sheamus couldn't do it. Orton couldn't do it. Mysterio couldn't do it. And maybe they give the TLC, they have the Big Show try. Big Show can't do it. Royal Rumble, Daniel Bryan comes back. Last year's, favorite. He can't do it either. No matter how hard he tries, he just can't get it done. Meanwhile, the winner of the Royal Rumble is Roman Reigns, and that moves into WrestleMania 31, where you had Brock Lesnar beat The Undertaker last year and have this great run, unstoppable. He's a champion who, when he shows up, it means something. And then Roman Reigns beats him, makes The Undertaker defeat mean something totally in the end, because then the guy that beat The Undertaker gets beat by this new kid who is now the brand new star and new face of the company.
If they book it like that, I think that's a great way to do it, honestly. I really do. Things to consider. I have like a tiny inkling in my gut that says maybe Seth Rollins cashes in tonight if Cena wins.
Yeah, you know what? It's possible. And here's the thing. Here's another thing that I thought of that is like totally opposite of all that awesome stuff that I think is. I think it's awesome anyway. I sure as hell would watch it. But something that would just derail that entirely. Like, for example, Lesnar has Cena beat because did you watch that Cena and Lesnar match from like 2012 when Lesnar came back?
Oh, yeah. The match that pissed Lesnar off really bad.
Okay. Cena had 3 moves of offense in that entire match.
Yep.
Lesnar beat the crap out of him. And I just watched it the other day again for the first time since then. But, okay, say Lesnar has him beat. Lesnar hits him with the F5. It's over. 1, 2, gong.
Oh my
The
lord.
lights go out.
That would be sick.
And then the lights come on and Undertaker's in the ring. Choke slams Lesnar, tombstones him. The lights go out again. Then he's gone, and Cena gets the pin, and that's when Rollins comes out.
Again, that's something I'm watching. Like I'm all about it. I love the idea. So speaking of Rollins, who do you got, Ambrose or Rollins in this lumberjack match? That I think if they do it right, there's never been, in my opinion, a brilliant, over-the-top, classic lumberjack match. Not something so memorable that it's not Hell in the Cell. It's not King of the Ring 98, where you can instantly just recall it, the match by heart, moment to moment.
Yeah, no, I mean, the gimmick, for the, maybe like in the 80s and maybe some of the NWA days meant more when you would have a stable of heels and a stable of baby faces out there. But you know what? This match has been going back and forth because I can see Rollins getting the win here because they actually have not wrestled yet. It's just the start of their feud. They actually have not locked up. So, but I could also see Ambrose getting a win here. Maybe not a decisive win, but maybe getting one, and potentially seeing that go on. Now, here's something that I thought of, and I think this would be interesting, and it would be hard to do. I will admit that, but it would freshen up the Money in the Bank contract kind of idea, because I think the whole idea has gotten kind of stale to me. You have Rollins as the Money in the Bank guy, and each and every time he tries to cash in, Ambrose is there, and it gets to the point where he's starting to run out of time next year, because they say, well, you have 1 year to cash in your contract.
Yeah.
And it's getting to the point where he's running out of time to cash in that contract. That hasn't been done yet.
No, you're right. It hasn't. We've had someone cash in the night they won. We've had someone wait a random inordinate amount of time. I mean, Edge, people forgot Edge could cash in like that.
Well, see, and that was the first one. They waited just long enough. And then you've had people cash in and lose, too.
Well, just one, right? No. Cena and...
I think there's one more.
What's his name? I know his name. Damian Sandow.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Damian Sandow cashing.
I totally forgot that he even had that.
Yeah, because remember it was the leather one, the leather Money in the Bank case.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boring.
The other match I want to talk about. Well, I guess we could talk about two. The other, this match is almost as big as the main event, and that's Stephanie versus Brie. Because to me, this is like the extension of the Daniel Bryan storyline. But since he's out, this is sort of bleeding into it. I don't know how good of a match it's going to be, but I definitely think they're going to try and get 2 matches out of it. This match or maybe the next pay-per-view. And here's something that I think would be kind of out of left field. Have Nikki come out and betray Brie, because she's been having to deal with all the crap since Brie kind of pulled her stunt.
All that Nikki needs to say if she does that is just look at Brie and just be like, it's best for business. Mm-hmm. Boom. Instant heel. It would be brilliant.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can see that happening, but I can also see it not happening as well. So either way, I'm looking forward to see how that plays off, because when I mean it's almost the main event level, because they've given it so much television time, and it's really been built up. And one more just another because I've been saying and way too much here.
I say too much, so it's okay.
Yeah. So we are and. But Jericho and Bray Wyatt. Sorry, I got so caught up on all my ands, I couldn't remember what match I was going to talk about. I think they're going to get one more match out of this after this. I think because Jericho's leaving after Night of Champions. I think Wyatt wins here, but it's not decisive. Or maybe Jericho wins, and it's just kind of a schmoz where the Wyatt family comes out. But I think Wyatt's definitely going to go over before the feud's over. And I enjoy both their work. So, I mean, it was a surprise to me to see Jericho go over in the first match. I thought Wyatt was going to get the win. but Jericho won, and that was a kind of a hit out of left field there.
Yeah, the crazy thing with this match is that they're both proficient technically on the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
They both have the ability to talk for days, and they are not overworking it. They're saying just enough, and they're just making it this dark, brilliant storyline. I think Bray will probably pick up the win tonight, and I think he's going to do it cleanly because he's going to make sure that that Harper and Rowan, I mean, they are banned from ringside, but he's going to make sure that they follow that rule. But I think maybe the match is over as soon as Bray gets the pin. The lights will go out, and then Harper and Rowan will be there beating the hell out of Y2J. And that'll push it to have a third and final thing, and maybe they'll do a Hell in a Cell or they'll do a steel cage match between Y2J and Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, I think that'd be neat. The only thing about Hell in a Cell is I get really irritated with how they've done their pay-per-view brandings, because now you don't get any random stipulation matches anymore like that. You don't get a Hell in a Cell at SummerSlam because they have a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view where that takes place, or a TLC.
And you don't Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, that's the other one. And then they've done the same thing with Money in the Bank. That used to be a WrestleMania staple. And I just kind of wish they would stop that and just say, you know what? That's not what sells the pay-per-view. It's the matches that sell the pay-per-view. The idea of Hell in a Cells only happen in October, I don't like that. I want the Hell in a Cell to happen when the feud calls for it.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think they need to change the format of the pay-per-view now that it is not necessarily a pay-per-view anymore.
Yeah.
With the WWE Network, you have rewritten your own destiny and your own landscape. You can't charge $50 now when people can go get it for 10. So now you're going to have to be creative and make the matches do all the talking. You can't rely exclusively on, hey, guess what? In September or whenever, Hell in a Cell's coming, and you might get 1 or 2 Hell in a Cell matches. Probably just one, though, but we're going to call the entire pay-per-view Hell in a Cell. I just don't like it. I mean, look back at King of the Ring. King of the Ring, you were still having matches to make the finals of King of the Ring during the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
That mattered. Lesnar was King of the Ring, and who was the last person he defeated before he went on to win it all? Didn't he defeat RVD, or was that the finals?
I think that was the finals.
I think that was the finals too. I don't remember.
I can't remember who the semi was, but yeah, he wrestled twice. And in fact, in the original King of the Ring pay-per-view, I want to say Bret Hart wrestled 3 times.
I think you're right too. Yeah.
Because it was he had 3 different matches, because it was I want to say Razor, and then it was Razor, Perfect, and then Bam Bam.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's one other match I want to just briefly talk about. It doesn't have a ton of importance, but as you were talking about Lesnar taking over the World Heavyweight title, and there being a void and needing for a great champion, I think this is. I think we're starting to see the redemption moment for Dolph Ziggler.
I hope so. I really do.
I love him as an entertainer. He is so brilliant. He's this cocky kid who is a really talented worker. He is really well versed in the ring. I think his mic skills could be a little better, but they're not bad.
In the ring, he reminds me a lot of Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. Shawn Michaels, a little bit of Sting in there, a little bit of like California Kid Sting.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely like a mismatch, but since I was surprised to see him get a good win and a couple good wins, and then I do know that they want to build up the Miz as well, and I've heard rumors about Ric Flair wanted to partner up and be Dolph Ziggler's manager, and they said no, that's not in the plans. This is just, I'm reading this online a couple weeks ago, whatever, and they wanted to put him with Miz. Well, they still haven't done that. Makes me wonder if they've second guessed putting him with Ziggler and whatever, but I want to see Ziggler win tonight, but I think Miz goes over.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, so SummerSlam, let's see how good we did. We'll have to check back into the next episode and see where our predictions went. Because I think we agree pretty much across the board. There's nothing really too out there. You're not going to give Jericho a win tonight because then there's no chance for a rubber match. He's beat Bray Wyatt twice.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense. I'm also not Dolphin 1925 for those of you who are curious. I do not know somebody who works backstage for the WWE who tells us what is exactly going to happen.
Before we move on from any wrestling stuff, because I don't think I have anything else to add to you.
No, not really, but if you've got something else to talk about, let's get on it.
I officially pre-ordered WWE 2K15 on PS4, Hulkamania Edition. And for those of you who don't know, which is everybody because I haven't made a single announcement about it yet, Journey into Comics is going to have a YouTube channel soon. And things are still in like the logistics phase. We're trying to figure out exactly what we're going to do and the content that we're going to provide. But I will say that when I get that, I will do an unboxing for the official Journey into Comics YouTube channel.
Oh, that's going to be awesome. Dude, you just gave me an idea because me and Brandon, like he said, we've been talking about the YouTube channel a very little bit. I'm not going to get into this on air. It's not the right time or place to talk about the craziness that's happened in the past couple weeks with my life and all that stuff. But when Brando told me, hey, I want to do this YouTube thing, hey, videos, Brando, I forgot to tell you, the iPad films in 1080p HD.
Cool.
So I do have a way to film myself, and we'll just do some tests. It won't be anything serious, but I could definitely do like a on-the-spot instant, what do you call that? Like a rapid reaction for certain issues of comics.
Yeah, like news tidbits or anything like that. Because I want to do the same thing with like video game news.
Yeah.
And then I also thought it would be really neat to kind of take, the camera with us if we're out hunting for comics or games, or, if we're going to get together for like Comic-Con next year, like we've talked about. Spoiler alert, we haven't mentioned that on air yet. But,
Oops.
Yeah, well, we've talked about getting together and maybe doing like an episode up at the Northwest, and then we've mentioned you may possibly coming down here and coming down to Wizard World for down in Indy. So maybe we can film during that and maybe make some joint videos where we're both actually on the screen at the same time, and that'd be kind of neat. But essentially, the YouTube thing is going to be like an extension of the podcast. It's not going to be in place of it. We just some extra stuff for the audience, and also for the YouTube audience that's never heard of the podcast. We'll hopefully make them want to listen to the podcast.
Yeah, it's we're cross promoting. We're so professional. So some stuff got leaked online this week, and I know we kind of do this thing where we talk about things that have leaked and scripts and stuff like that, but these were images that leaked, and I hope they're real, and I hope they weren't somebody who just is really, really talented making stuff up. But we did see what looks to be the new Stormtrooper helmet. I sent Brando a link. He checked it over. And I don't know, man. I don't know what you're thinking, but as far as I'm concerned, I think they look evolved and really badass.
I like it. I mean, it's really neat because it doesn't seem like it's too far away from the original design.
No, not at all. It's very, very in line with that. So I think that's absolutely just stellar. There are tons of rampant rumors. We're not going to get into people just saying a bunch of crazy stuff that they think they know about the new Star Wars movie. And all I'm saying is let's wait till there's a trailer, because trailers will do a lot of the speaking for the company. They'll go, hey, this is exactly what we were trying to do. No worries here. Dude, did you hear that Guardians of the Galaxy, their soundtrack, okay, Awesome Mix Volume 1 ended up #1 on the Billboard charts?
No.
Like top 200, #1 on the Billboard charts. Think about that. A soundtrack to a movie.
That's interesting.
Yeah, think about the artists who, are on that. There are a lot of classic 70s artists on there. They're making bank if they're still alive right now.
That or their estate or whatever, yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I wanted to mention something, and I'm kind of putting this on the fly here because I didn't mention this when we kind of talked about, kind of a rundown. So this is kind of putting you on the spot. This is something that you haven't heard yet because I wanted to save it for a surprise. And this is something I read right before I hopped on to do the podcast. This is still in the rumor phase, so take it with a grain of salt. But I heard something about Star Wars, something very interesting about Star Wars, and it's something that Disney is going to be doing. Well, rumored to be doing, and they're rumored to be bringing the original trilogy film releases, like the theatrical releases, to Blu-ray.
I heard that too. Yeah, I saw that last night. Unedited, untouched, unmessed with. They're gonna hopefully. I really do. I hope it's true. I hope it's not just a farce.
Apparently, they haven't been saying much because it's been a difficult transition because there's a lot of damage to the original negatives, I guess. Oh, there's some damage, so they're having difficulty with that. But they hope to have it out by episode 7, and I would jump on that in a heartbeat. Now, I do have the original releases. In May, I was able to track down the VHS copies of the original untouched Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi for $0.25 a piece at a garage sale in decent condition. And then I do have the DVD releases from 2006, I think, of the original trilogy that came with an extra disc that had the Laserdisc versions of the original untouched trilogy, which I believe was only in full screen, not widescreen. But it's still neat to have them because those were actually on display in my game room because I adore the original trilogy untouched.
Yeah, absolutely. People forget, and I've only ever seen it once, but people forget Jabba the Hutt was just a dude originally. He was
in fact, that scene wasn't even in the movie.
Yeah,
I don't think
it never made the movie, but the way they originally wrote it, he was just a dude, and they filmed it with just a British dude.
Yeah, but I really hope that rumor is true, and I definitely hope that it pans out.
You were telling me, jumping off Star Wars, because we could sit for another 2 hours on Star Wars talking, because there's literally so many things. Like I said, there's tons of rumors rampant from what Mark Hamill has said about how he was forced to grow a beard to the possibility that, and this is a really wild, random one, but it just made me giggle, and I want to say it here. Allegedly, Han and Chewie now they pass the torch with the Millennium Falcon. They give it to a new, younger cast member because they are the pilots of a super Star Destroyer.
That I haven't even heard that one.
What? They're just cruising around the world in this super Star Destroyer. Yeah, no. Anyways, so Brando, you were telling me off air you've got something called Game Depot, or you went to Game Depot. I literally do not know what it is. You just had mentioned it, and I'm interested to hear, so you're going to have to enlighten me.
All right. So last week I went game hunting, and I budgeted myself $50. Said I'm going to go game hunting for $50, see what I come home with. And I wanted to go to this new store just south of my neck of the woods in a town called Lebanon. And a guy at work told me about this place, this game store, and I actually attempted to go there back in July, but I just missed him because this guy, he's the only guy that works there, and he works some pretty odd hours. Like Tuesday to Friday, was it like noon to 8, and then Saturday 10 to 6. And so as I was going down there last week, I had certain things I had already thought of in my mind. He's going to be a little bit higher price since he's this kind of a hole in the wall kind of place, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with paying a little bit higher price for supporting people like that. And I went in there, introduced myself, told him I'm a game collector. It's my first time in here, and I'm looking around, and I budgeted $50, but I'm also planning on going to one of my regular stores. So I don't really plan on buying a whole lot here. It's my first time here. I'm just going to pick up something. So I'm looking around. He has a lot of PS2 stuff. He has a lot of, a lot of neat stuff. Like he had an NES top loader in the box, and he had a copy of Earthbound.
Oh.
And he had a Chrono Trigger in the box, and he had Soul Blazer in the box. And I'm looking around, and I'm like going, I'm trying, and I'm like no selling it because I don't want to go, ooh. I'm no selling it because I don't want to start that. Well, you like that, huh?
Yeah, you do not want to feed into this guy right away. You got to get a read for the store figure out what prices are going to be like, and then you know how it goes. Got to get a read, man.
Yeah. So I'm looking around and I see a copy of God of War 2, which is not rare by any means. But it was the 2-disc version that I think that was the original release when that came out. Was that 2-disc?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was the original one because then they re-released it without the second disc, and then they released it again with Greatest Hits or something like that. And so I see that for $10, and it's a little bit more than what I would pay for. I could probably get it for $5 or something like that. And I'm like, but again, as I said, I really don't care to pay a little bit more at a place that is, smaller than one of your chains that are local in the Midwest or whatever. So I go up there, and he goes, "Oh, cool, God of War. I love the series." Kind of pulling that same kind of small talk. And then he takes the disc out of the case and goes, "Whoa, man, I'm sorry. I don't know how this got out there." He goes, "Man, this disc looks pretty rough." Because I tell you what, I'll throw it in the polisher and then I'll just give it to you. That way you don't start off on the wrong foot here.
What? He gave you a copy of God of War 2?
Yeah, he had it marked for $10. He gave it to me for free.
Okay, so now you can't hard sell him anymore.
No. I'm like, dude, thank you. He's like, he goes, "I don't have any cards, but here's my information. If you ever want to come back down, you can call before you come back down to see if I have anything that you want." I'm like, dude, he's going out of the way for me. I mean, I had a conversation with another guy at work about, like a restaurant or something that he went to, kept messing his stuff up. But they kept like making it right by it. They said, "Come back in, we'll give you your meal for free." And he's like, that makes me, even though they messed my stuff up, makes me want to come back because they're treating me right as a customer. And I'm like, this guy, he's throwing a hook out there and he's baiting, and he's hooking me in. He's got the bait. That free game was the bait, and he knows that I'll be back. And I definitely was back because he has a layaway program where you put 25% down and then 25% every 2 weeks. And, he has Earthbound. He had a Chrono Trigger in box. And I definitely wanted to go back and try and get those. So I kind of had a discussion with the wife. I got my attendance bonus at work and was like, yeah, I want to go down there and check it out. But I've been working 6 days a week, and he's not open on Sunday, and I can't go down. So she goes, "You want me to go down and get it or put it on layaway?" And then at first I said yes. And what I mean by it, I mean Chrono Trigger, because that is when I did my top 5 a while ago. That's number 2. It still is. And I never had the original Super Nintendo version. And I want it. And I want it in box. And I remember saying that I don't really care about in-box stuff. Well, there's a few exceptions to that. If it's anything in my top 10, I want the complete in-box manual. If it's a cartridge. That's definitely a plus for me. So eventually I told her not to go because I was searching on eBay, and I'm seeing copies of complete in-box Chrono Triggers going for over $200.
Oh, boy.
And I'm just like, you know what? This guy's a smaller place. He probably knows what it's worth, more than likely. And he's going to want that or more for it, and which I'm okay with. Especially since he already did right by me. He gave me a free game. He did not have to do that. He could have said, "I'll throw it in a polisher and then I'll sell it to you," or "I'll give it to you for $5." No, he gave it to me for free, just flat out. Take it. And so I'm okay with spending a little bit more than what I want, especially since he's got that program. But I definitely want to get eyes on it because I only saw the box, and the box has a little bit of imperfection marks on it. But I definitely want to see the cartridge because I don't want to pay that much if the cartridge is beat up. So I told her not to go. And then yesterday I wake up and she brings it home, or I wake up and she has it and she hands it to me. I'm like, what? What the hell? She goes, It's perfect. The cartridge is pristine. It comes with everything that was in the box.
Oh, Lord.
The only thing that's missing is those old games used to have like this white cardboard that the cartridge would sit in.
Yeah, no.
That's the only thing it's missing. It has the manual. It has the posters. It has the cartridge. The cartridge is pristine. And then she goes, "Guess how much I got it for?" And I'm like, first off, I'm floored that she even has it. And I'm afraid to ask. She goes, $80.
Are you kidding me?
No. I'm like, I about like just fell down. it literally knocked me off my feet. I'm like $80.
So what you're telling me is I'm gonna PayPal you money, and you're gonna get Earthbound, and hopefully he gets a second copy, and then I'm gonna get Earthbound as well.
Well, he said he had other copies of Chrono Trigger, but that was the best looking one they had. In fact, all right, just a few weeks ago, I went. I wasn't game hunting, but I was in town, and I convinced her to let me go to a game store. You have to understand, I like to go to these stores often, even when I'm not buying, just to see stock and prices, because stuff can change a little bit here and there. And I like to get who has what. That's what I want to know, because I have a couple different stores in my local area, and they had Chrono Trigger, just a cartridge, for $80. And for $80, I got complete in box.
Cool.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome, dude. Seriously. And I saw the picture on. You need to put that on the Journey into Comics Instagram, but I saw it on Facebook. I mean, we talked about it, and I was just, it's brilliant. That is such a good deal. Yeah, I think that was killer that you ended up with that, man.
To anybody listening to this that's into video gaming that wants to collect, if you're in the area, please go by his place. I am going to tout this guy. He is my new best friend. Let's put it that way.
You should put a flyer up at his place.
Trust me, I will be going back down soon. I'm not sure when exactly soon, probably in the next few weeks or so. But I will definitely ask about that and say that I name dropped him and all that stuff, and touting about him and all that he's done for me. And you know what? He's done this for me, and I'm going to be going back and spending more money at his place.
Heck yeah. He sounds like a good dude. You're gonna end up making me drive down to Lebanon to see this place. So that's freaking awesome.
I mean, you should come down someday, and we should just like go game hunting all around. Is what we should do.
Oh, we should. You need to tell you once we get off air, you'll give me your schedule, and we'll try to figure a like Labor Day weekend or something. Do you work Labor Day?
We'll talk about that off air.
Okay, fair enough. Anyways, Brando, we're talking about games, we're talking about hunting, but this is the 10th episode, and we did say we were going to do some top 10s. I think it's your turn, bro. I think you need to
fatality.
I think you need to definitely, give these people what they really want. They want to know your top 10. I don't know what you've planned, so I'm just gonna hand it over to Brando now.
So I chose top 10 PS1 games. I have roughly 85 PS1 games in my collection.
I like
so
turtles.
I have quite a few. There are ones that I'm missing. And in fact, on this list, there's only one game I don't have, but I have played it. And I mean, this is a pretty standard list. If anybody has ever been into the PS1 system, you should recognize, most, if not all of these. But number 10, I'm going to go with Silent Hill. And I remember the first time that I played this, and this was the first game that actually scared me as a kid. Like, I played Resident Evil, and that gave me some jumps, and it was creepy, but this game pushed it over the edge.
Absolutely.
And what they did for, at the time, we look back on it now and think, oh, well, we've got, HD graphics. We've got, so much better, technology to make a better environment. But they created that awesome environment in Silent Hill with just on the PS1, and they did such a great job at it. And moving on to number 9, Crash Bandicoot Warped. And if there ever was a mascot for PlayStation back then, it was Crash Bandicoot. And I just remember all the old commercials of him yelling at the Nintendo building with a megaphone. The guy in the Crash Bandicoot suit, that is.
Oh, I forgot about those. Thanks for that memory, bro.
Yeah, like it was just so funny and cool. And the Crash games are good, but Crash Bandicoot 3 did it. I feel like that's the best one. None of them are bad by any means, but I just kind of think like if I was gonna pick one, I'd pick Warped. And then, of course, on a kind of side note, as like maybe a 8.5, I'd sneak it in there as Crash Team Racing. Probably one of the better kart racing games. Is it Mario Kart? Was very good. And then moving on to another racing game, Gran Turismo 2. Now, Gran Turismo is definitely more of a simulation type, and it can be very boring if you're not into it. But the graphics were amazing, and they still. Well, I put it in when I bought it, not that long ago, a couple months ago, and it still floored me about how good this looks even today. Because some games don't age that well, but this game is it's definitely aged well, and it looked amazing for the day. Moving on to number 7, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Now this is the only one on the list I don't own. I could have bought it, but I wouldn't have had like the case or anything like that for it. But I love the Castlevania games, harkening back all the way to the NES, and I love the gameplay in this, and it's classic Castlevania. You cannot go wrong. Number 6, Tekken 3, and I remember spending many a quarter on Tekken 2 at my local arcade back when my small town had one, and I remember having a demo disc when I first bought the PS1, and it had Tekken 3 on it. And I have Tekken 1 and Tekken 3. I would have had Tekken 2, but when I bought it, it had a copy of Tekken 1 in it.
Oh, no.
So I had to take it back. But I do enjoy the Tekkens. I'm not a huge fighting fan. I like to play them every now and again, but I love Street Fighter, but Tekken is definitely the PlayStation fighter. Number 5, Tomb Raider. I think that the original Tomb Raider was also on the Saturn, but its sequels, all the sequels appeared on the PS1, and I have all of them. I believe there's 5 of them. I have all 5 of them, and the control hasn't aged well because I'm going back and replaying it is like, wow, the control in this game is really hard, but it's platforming. It's platforming and action. And it was doing something new that hadn't been done at the time, and it's something that is, and that's a genre that is still continued today with the Uncharted series, and then with the reboot of the new Tomb Raider, kind of took hints from what Uncharted kind of changed with it, and they're just borrowing from each other, and that's nothing but great because you're going to get some great games out of that, and it all started really, in my opinion, with Tomb Raider on the PlayStation.
I agree with that, man.
Number 4, Twisted Metal 2. And I spent a lot of time with my friends playing Twisted Metal 2.
Yep.
If there was ever a co-op game on PlayStation that was so much fun, it was Twisted Metal. You have in between Tomb Raider and Twisted Metal, you have boobs and guns, cars and guns. You can't go wrong. And I should know because I got both of those games at exactly the same day.
Oh, that's awesome.
And part of the reason why I didn't play Final Fantasy VII sooner was because I had those 2 to choose from when I got Final Fantasy VII as well. So, but Twisted Metal is awesome. It still makes me laugh. It's got that tongue-in-cheek humor. It's over the top. Nothing but fun. Moving on, number 3, Resident Evil 2. And Resident Evil 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. And Resident Evil 2 is the first one that I played of the series. I ended up renting it from a store, and it was right when I got the PS1, like 98. So it was like the game was like brand spanking new. It came out like that September, I want to say. And I got it, and I rented it in like early November. And this game did scare me, because I'd never played anything like it before. It was a 3D running around, kind of a shooter, and then you had to watch out for these zombies. And I had never ever played anything like it. The story's great. The idea of doing the multiple scenario where you have 2 characters to play as, and you can play it through one character's path, and then when you beat that, you can play through the other character's path. That's happening simultaneously. That idea was just awesome, and I wish more games would kind of go back to that and do that, because I think it'd be neat. I'd like to save for The Last of Us to have something like that. But number 2, Metal Gear Solid, and I think the top 2 here are probably a no-brainer. I think Nate hasn't figured out. But Metal Gear Solid was the first game that ever gripped me in story, as far as not being able to put it down, not going to sleep until I beat it. And the Metal Gear series has continued to do the same thing to me to this day. It was one of the first games that had really good voice acting and really good presentation. It almost felt like you were watching a movie while you were playing your game. And that's something that has continued within a series. The cutscenes have gotten longer sometimes.
Oh boy, have they gotten longer. Whew.
But, it's all good. And I love the first Metal Gear Solid. Number 1, Final Fantasy VII. Because it was probably the first really smash hit on the PlayStation.
Hold on. So I made a boo-boo, and it was unintentional. So you said Final Fantasy VII, and then I hit a button. So you got blanked out for a second. Can you repeat that? I'm so unprofessional. I'm really embarrassed by that.
You were trying to be all sneaky and hit a nice button, and I bet I know what button it was too.
What was it?
The drama button.
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
You're going to just have to wait till it gets up online to hear what the button was, Brando.
All right. Well, anyway, I don't think there was any surprise that I chose this because, well, number one, it's my favorite game of all time. It was my first RPG that I really got into other than like Pokemon or something like that. And this was the first really big smash hit for the PlayStation. I mean, you had Tomb Raider, you had Twisted Metal, you had Resident Evil. But Final Fantasy VII brought a lot of the like Nintendo nerds that loved the RPGs on that system, brought them to the PlayStation. And I don't think there's not much else that I can say about it. It is one of the most revered and also most hated games of all time. People think it's overrated, and maybe they have a point. Maybe it's not as great as I think it is, but I think it's all about perception.
Well, and I think maybe a lot of the hate on that game is literally the hate in itself is because it is so popular, and people tend to just, I mean, I don't care if it's the greatest thing on, I don't care if a dude literally walks out of his house and gives everybody $1 million. Someone's going to find a reason to hate that dude.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I know. And it definitely is popular to hate it. This is not a game that is absolutely perfect. It has its flaws. The graphics haven't aged well, but it has that charm to it. And it definitely shows, in my opinion, early on what their vision was. And maybe, and they definitely did it better with like FF9 or something like that. But this first one with that blocky graphics and pointy ears and thin elbows or whatever it is, I love it. And they look so shitty, and yet you get lost and you don't even care because you're just so sucked into the story. Or at least I hope you are, because it's a good story. But yeah, that's my top 10. I'll run it back down. Number 10, Silent Hill. 9, Crash Bandicoot Warped. 8, Gran Turismo 2. 7, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. 6, Tekken 3. 5, Tomb Raider. 4, Twisted Metal 2. 3, Resident Evil 2. 2, Metal Gear Solid. And 1, Final Fantasy 7.
I hit the button again. It was really fun.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, you'll be excited. So this has been just there have just been a lot of strange circumstances in regular life and news and stuff. But someone by the name of Sarah, who most of you know who she is and her importance in my life, suggested today that we do something a little special to end the show, being our 10th episode, which is not the largest thing. It's not our 100th episode. We're only a 10th of the way to our 100th episode. And we only have 284 episodes left with Brandon, because episode 294 at some point will happen. That's funny because it probably won't happen like that, but that's okay. Anyways, she suggests that we do a top 5 or top 10, which we came up with 5, of celebrities who are secretly or more vocally comic book or video game nerds or fans that people might not expect. I have the list. Brandon and I didn't really talk about the order of these, so I don't think we should really do an order. What do you say? Should we just read these down and then we'll just leave our number 1 as who deserves to be number 1?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just read it from the bottom. No, I'll read it from the top down. Recently this week, it was revealed that Ronda Rousey, a UFC fighter and champion, is a humongous Pokemon fan who still to this day loves Pokemon and actually recalled going to the Mall of America to stand in line to get her Mew for her original cartridge.
Wow. That's cool.
And when asked, who is your favorite Pokemon, her immediate response was, well, it has to be Mew because without Mew there would be no other Pokemon, and I'm a purist like that. So I thought that was really interesting that she was just very – you just don't expect that from someone like her, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. We'll go with this guy next because it looks like this list is mostly girls. Oops. So, yeah, we'll just whatever. Anyways, the next one I have down is Rosario Dawson. She was in Sin City, which is obviously based on a comic book, but apparently she's a huge fan of a comic book series by Jonan Vasquez called Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. Some of you will know what Johnny the Homicidal Maniac is. Others will not. If you have not read it or don't know what it is, look it up. I think it's a very dark, grim, interesting comic. And if you don't know who Jonan Vasquez is, I can instantaneously make you know and recognize his work because he is single-handedly the man responsible for a television series called Invader Zim. So if you didn't know that, now you do. Next on my list is I'm gonna hand this one over to Brandon.
Yeah, I was thinking a couple, and the first name that popped in my head when we were talking about this is it was Adrian Curry, because I remember seeing a picture that she posted of herself playing World of Warcraft naked, and was
Boing.
like instantly like boing. It was like, I thought that was kind of cool, and when I looked that up, I wanted them like kind of like, well, one, I wanted to see the picture again, but two, to just clarify that, I've read that she hosted a web series with Stan Lee, and I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, that is really neat. I'm gonna have to actually probably look that one up.
Yeah, but she also goes to Comic Cons, and she's really into gaming and all that other stuff. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, and then another one that you had talked to me about just for a brief second is not really surprising that he's on this list, because he was at one point in time supposed to be Superman after Christopher Reeves, if you didn't know that. I do believe the movie was called Superman Forever. That was supposed to come out in 1994. But tell us about who this next person is, Mr. Brando.
Well, this certain person spent some time in an airplane when he was a prisoner. That's a bad segue. Con Air. Nicolas Cage. Which I can't imagine him being Superman. After all of his career and the way he delivers his lines, I just don't know if he would be Superman.
I'm talking through my teeth.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, he I guess what he had a copy of Action Comics #1 was for the first Superman comic, in which you said that one got stolen with all of his comics, or
yeah, I think there is a documentary, or there was going to be a documentary, which was him getting an Action Comics #1 in the same grade that he had it again. And I feel like the story pans out something to the effect of he ends up getting it on eBay for 1.8 mil.
Well, another point of his thing is he sold over $4 million worth of comics. $4 million worth of comics.
That's crazy. If you buy a comic from him, do you instantly go, "Hey, can you sign it"?
I don't know.
I would say no.
I maybe just for shits and giggles, maybe a Ghost Rider one, but that's only because he played Ghost Rider, even if I didn't like the movies.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway.
So our #1, first of all, I need to mention to one of my good close buddies, Mr. Tony Schoen. He's who I went with to see Motley Crue, by the way. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have got to go. So to both him and Jeff, I want to say thanks, because that Friday last week was just a really good time. It was a lot of fun. Great people to be around. But me and Tony had a conversation Monday after some really sad news broke, which I promise is all segues. So this #1 that we're going to talk about is it's a rough little topic, but I know it deeply affected my buddy Tony. So this one's for you, bro. But our number one on the celebrities who you may not have known are nerds or whatever we're gonna call this one. Our top 5 is the man himself, Robin Williams, who passed away this past week.
Yeah, and I just want to interject and say that this did affect me hard pretty well. I'm still kind of at a loss for words for it. I found out the news at lunch at work, and it was on CNN, and I was shocked. And then to hear about the method of which she passed, it depressed me.
Yeah. But man, depression is a real thing, and I read an article, kind of jumping a little bit. It's still definitely on topic, but jumping a little bit away from the comic book world of what we do. I read a very interesting article that someone had put about how we as humans are very selfish, because look at animals, your pets that you've had throughout your life. More times than not, they get really sick, and they at some point have to pass away as well. And most people very peacefully put them out of their misery by euthanizing their animal. And someone put, with as bad as depression is and as rough as things get, if someone has the decision to take their own life, why isn't, obviously there was Dr. Kevorkian, but why isn't there a way to allow you to peacefully go into the night and make it less tragic,
Yeah, I don't know. That all I can say is that both me and my wife are just kind of bummed for the next couple of days. And even so, bringing it up, I mean, he's an individual that touched a lot of people. He was a great actor. He's a great comedian. He's a great humanitarian. He did a lot for people. And he was definitely across generations. We grew up with him.
Oh yeah.
And he was when the president of the United States takes a time out of his vacation to come up with something to say about you, that you've affected the world. And the fact that he's number one on this list it shouldn't be surprising. He was an avid gamer. He loved the Zelda series. He named his daughter after Zelda. He was an avid player of his Xbox. He liked playing Call of Duty. He liked playing racing games. And from what I've heard, he also liked to play Viva Pinata.
That's awesome. I liked Viva Pinata. I forgot about that game.
And then I read, was it a few days after he passed, that he was an avid World of Warcraft player, and that the players of World of Warcraft petitioned Blizzard to memorialize him in the game, and that Blizzard is going to do so.
That's a great thing to hear, honestly. He deserves it, man. He was such a classic, timeless actor who I stand by what I said when I found out he was the funniest man on earth.
The thing is, and I said this a few times to a couple different people, whenever someone passes away, no matter what they've done, if they were, famous, typically the news coverage is pretty sympathetic, and they don't really say a whole lot. But I think this is one of the rare instances where someone's passed away, and I can't find a single person who has a bad thing to say about him.
Well, sorry to be the bearer of bad news. I'm guessing you didn't hear about the thing that happened at Fox News, huh?
Well, okay. Let me rephrase that.
Okay.
Because I did.
Okay.
I don't know anybody in their right mind that has a bad thing to say about them. I did hear about Fox News and that host, the guy who he called him a coward.
Well, Shepard Smith, I think is his name or something.
Yes.
He is a perpetual douchebag. Like, he is just a piece of trash.
He did apologize for it. So I do want to say that, in saying that that he didn't mean it in that vein as to be disrespectful. He was kind of talking the way we are about suicide and about how he may have taken the cowardly way out. And he did apologize for that. So, I mean, he did say it, and he is a douchebag, but at least that douchebag apologized for it and did the right thing. Rush Limbaugh did not.
Yeah, Rush Limbaugh just needs to, and this is probably not the greatest or smartest things. He should probably run into traffic. I mean, Rush Limbaugh is just an awful human being overall.
Okay, I will say that he didn't say anything bad about Robin Williams as a person, but he turned it political and saying that people who are of the leftist mind are all just very dark, and they're never happy. And I hit my microphone, getting all worked up. And then he came out like the next day and tried to say that he wasn't saying that. And I don't understand. If you have a radio show, if you have an outlet like we do, okay, you need to be responsible for what you say. You know, it's like, if we say something, we had better either do our damn research or correct ourselves. Like, I spaced it about if Gamescom was really in Europe, and I looked it up on the fly to make sure I wasn't completely wrong, because I have made mistakes before, CDCC.
I forgot about that. That's awesome that you brought
it
that
happens,
up.
When you're live, you do make mistakes, but when you say something that's sort of out of line, trying to explain a certain action, such as someone's death or suicide, by trying to explain their politics, it doesn't even compute to me why you would even go there. Why it doesn't matter politically why he did what he did. It should only matter personally. And that to me, the whole Fox News thing and the Rush Limbaugh thing, to me, it's more so Rush Limbaugh, because even though Shepard said what he said, and then he apologized. At least he apologized for it. I'll say that again. I think Rush was doing it just to get a reaction.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, that's just like, I'm definitely not in the same vein as what we're talking about right now, but that's like Hulk Hogan saying that, Stone Cold has no right to speak about how legendary Stone Cold is, because according to Hogan, he's not.
Yeah, right. It's
like, why even say that?
Yeah, he's getting a reaction. He's trying to stir the pot, and Rush is doing the same thing. I don't care what he's been a complete moron. Very rarely does Rush Limbaugh say anything that makes any sense. And I'm not saying that because of politics. I don't want to turn it into that. I'm saying it in general. I feel like he takes situations, he takes newsworthy topics, and does it just to get people to listen to his show. And more power to him. He's got a show. He should be able to make money in doing what he's doing. But don't be a complete asshole during a situation where clearly the entire world is mourning at this guy's loss. And we've lost somebody special in Robin Williams.
Yeah.
And people like him don't come around often.
No, I agree. Man, we turned this into a sad ending.
No, we didn't turn it into a sad ending.
Well, kinda.
I think it needed to be. I think we needed to talk about that, because for our generation, Robin Williams was there. He was our genie. He was our Peter Pan. He was our nanny. He was our Mrs. Doubtfire. He was so many things, and he's also greatly missed.
Amen to that, brother. I definitely cannot say it any better myself. I think that's going to conclude the episode, unless there's anything else that you've got.
Buddy, I think I'm about worn out here.
Yeah, this was a little bit of a different episode. We played it. By the way, I didn't mention this when we started, but we did not have an outline for our show this week. We just kind of played it by ear and kind of went with the flow as best as we could. It was something we were trying out. We'll see how it comes out in the wash. And next time on Journey into Comics, Brando, I've got a game for you. I think we briefly discussed it, but I want to make sure that I say it on air so I am held accountable to make sure this gets done. But next episode, we're going to play a game where I'm going to play backwards different tracks from different video game soundtracks, and you're going to try to guess what video game they are.
I'm down, man. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun little test of knowledge, and hearing things backwards makes things all kinds of crazy. So
it does.
I'll definitely throw some curveballs your way. And ladies and gentlemen, this was Journey into Comics episode 10. My name obviously is Nate Phillips with my co-host. He didn't say his name again.
Colonel Campbell.
Colonel Campbell. Very good.
No, dude, I'm Brandon. Thank you guys for listening to our episode.
Sega!